Welcome back to AM Northwest. You know, we all know people who seem to have an amazing attitude despite coming from incredibly difficult backgrounds. We're here to share what she's learned from those people. We're happy to welcome the author of Choosing a Good Life, Ali Berman. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is a fascinating book because it is so true. You meet people who you think you have every right in the world to be angry, to be bitter, to demand, you know, some sort of revenge or retribution or reward for what you've been through, and they don't choose that. What was it about this whole phenomenon of people that made you want to write a book?
You know, my husband and I were going through a really difficult time personally, and so it came at a time where the book idea came with us transforming our own lives. So as much as I was writing this book for other people to learn, it was, I mean, we changed our lives based on what we learned from this book. And really the most empowering thing was none of these people were born with the tools and the skills that they had, that I talked to them about. All of them made actual choices through learning experience, through hardship, in order to make their life what they wanted it to be.
What kind of questions were you asking these individuals? And the book is made up of just amazing stories from all kinds of different people from all walks of life. What were the questions you were asking them?
You know, I asked a lot about, one of the things that I personally was curious about was how they deal with fear and anxiety. I think something in stress, you know, whether it's financial, personal relationships. I, at the time, was dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety, so for me that was a huge question. I wanted to find out how they did that, and also, you know, how they balanced their families, their jobs, how they really made it so they had all the things in their life that they wanted to be there, and without feeling like they were sacrificing anything.
Did you find a common lesson, I'll call it, from these individuals that they all shared as they dealt with their own adversity?
You know, I interviewed everyone from a 30-year-old fashion designer to a 90-year-old Holocaust survivor, so incredibly different stories, and it was incredible to me that sometimes they would nearly quote each other when I asked them a question. So, you know, dealing with fear and anxiety, the Holocaust survivor, a man waiting for a liver transplant, and an ethical entrepreneur, they all gave pretty much the same answer, which I found incredible.
What was that answer?
Answer was that you never actually have to worry about something if you always do the best that you can. If you always put your best effort forward, then even if you fail, even if it doesn't go right, it doesn't matter because you know that you did everything you could.
Oh, interesting. I mean, that takes kind of the victim mentality out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, so, and even if there's something you can't control, if you can't do anything about, let's say you have a wedding scheduled and it's outside and you're terrified it's going to rain, don't worry about that. There's absolutely nothing you can do about that sort of situation. So really sort of categorizing the things you can change and the things you can't. And
tell the story of the Holocaust survivor who had such a great attitude about, you know, the hand that life dealt him.
Yeah, he is Emery Jacoby, and I interviewed him. He was 90 years old, and he was taken from his home when he was 20 years old, 6-month march, and then was taken to a concentration camp. He actually escaped, and he's the most positive man I've ever met. I mean, I interviewed a lot of positive people, but he was the vibe that he gave off and the way he talked about things, he really valued his life and his relationships, and part of the way he found meaning through his experience was educating others. So, you know, he makes sure to tell people about his experience. For him, it's to educate people so that bigotry in all its forms cannot happen anymore, right? So things like the Holocaust don't repeat themselves. So that's how he personally found meaning through his terrible, terrible experience.
Within the book, you share the stories with different individuals, and then you have what I call little factoids.
Yeah.
You know, people talk about why they chose perhaps maybe not to have children or different things in their life, and then you have research that backs up what they're saying or adds to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a writer, and I'm primarily a fiction writer. This was my first nonfiction book, and so for me, yes, you can listen to me as a person who's also on a journey, just like I assume that the readers are, or these people who sort of achieved something so remarkable. But I wanted it to be based in science and data, so it's, you know, something to back it up. So whether it was meditation, whether it's the importance of relationships or integrity, all these things to finding balance, I wanted to make sure that people saw, okay, this is the research, this is the actual data behind it that says this is real.
What did you learn? What did you learn about the human condition?
Oh my gosh, I learned that we are remarkably resilient and that you can always choose how you want to look at any given situation. So, you know, you can choose to see positives or you can choose to see negatives, and sometimes it just takes a bit of rewiring our own brains in order to see the joy even in really difficult
What is it about
circumstances.
the people, though, that they see the positive and they're wired that way, and then the people who don't see it? And I'm hearing you say throughout this that the people who don't see it can change that.
Yeah.
But what you're saying, the people who have it, many it was almost innate with them.
In some ways, yeah, but a lot of them made choices. They said, okay, this is a good example is Mihao, who 30 years old, and he grew up, and his parents and his family, they were all big yellers, right? There was a lot of yelling in the household. And when he was a teenager, he was yelling at his sister, and he realized, you know what? This actually doesn't work. This is a terrible way to resolve conflict. And so he hasn't actually yelled at anyone since then. He decided, you know what? I want a quieter approach. I want to be able to come to win-win solutions, make sure everyone gets something that they want. And that's how he handles conflict now. So I feel like everyone in the book, no one's perfect. No one is born perfect. We all struggle, but these people took those struggles and they used them to be able to make positive changes.
And you make the claim that pain and trials, tribulations make people stronger. Was that the message from everybody in the book?
I think that certainly no one wants to struggle. I mean, I personally, in my 20s, I had cancer. I had disability, and these people, I mean, one woman lost her husband and her child. Another was waiting for a liver transplant during the interview. And certainly no one wants those things to happen. But if they do happen, I think there's a remarkable amount that we can learn from that and use to make our lives better.
Well, it's a fascinating book, and sure gives you insight into people that you don't normally get to meet. And the book is Choosing a Good Life. It's available in all the places where you can find a book, and it is just great to read. Thanks for coming in today and sharing it with us. We really appreciate it. Thanks. You're welcome.